There are people who can never be close despite being together for life, but there are people those who become soulmates even though they've just known each other for a short time. Reggie is a 12-year-old boy who lives in big, luxurious mansion. His room is as big as a garage. Every day, Reggie wakes up with a nanny waiting beside his bed to help him with his personal hygiene. His mother's always been busy. She lets the nannies take all responsibility for Reggie. Reggie isn't only a rich kid, but he's also an all-round genius. He could read books before turning 2, and do math when he reached 4. Reggie is also a cellist, and the cello is his best friend. Because of not having a happy family, Reggie puts all his attention on playing cello. His character, how he acts, his intelligence are all different from other 12-year-old kids. He's more like an adult. Reggie hates being driven home. He likes walking and breathing in the fresh air. In order not to make his mother worried and keep the driver's job, he gives him an amount of money and tells him to lie to his mother. It's good for both of them. This is Reggie, a 12-year-old genius's daily life. He looks mature, elegant from the outside, but he's actually very lonely. Elsewhere in this city, there's a girl whose life is completely contrary to Reggie's. She's Eleanor, a poor girl. She lives in a rented shabby flat with her guitarist boyfriend, Dennis, a disloyal loser, who is usually drunk. Eleanor couldn't stand it anymore. The next morning, she threw Dennis's guitar through the window. As an end of this love story, she packed up her things and went to the restaurant where she was working. Dennis followed her there and caused troubles, which cost Eleanor her job because the manager didn't want his business to be affected. Breaking up, unemployment, Eleanor was completely hopeless. But fortunately, Eleanor soon found a job as a temporary babysitter in a rich family because the former nanny suddenly quit her job and Reggie's mother had to go on a business trip. So she posted an ad to find a caretaker for Reggie. What a miracle, connecting to people of different age, status and social class. Eleanor removed her makeup and went to the interview. She was very surprised to see such a large mansion. She didn't only have a place to live but also money. After discussing, Eleanor was responsible of picking Reggie up from school. It was the first time they had met. She sat in the empty stands and watched Reggie playing cello. The beautiful melody touched her and Eleanor quietly cried. Reggie insisted on walking home, so Eleanor helplessly followed him. It was their first meet. The two simply introduced themselves. "It's very nice to meet you." After greeting, they started talking. Eleanor complimented on Reggie's song, but Reggie said music was dead. He was very pessimistic, but it was true. Eleanor was very curious about this mysterious little boy. Hearing the cello sound, Eleanor opened the door. It turned out that Reggie was practicing in a dried swimming pool. It was his habit. Eleanor curiously asked, "Why don't you swim here?" "I don't know how to swim. No one teaches me." "Don't worry, I will." This conversation brought them closer. They sat at both ends of the dining table. A servant stood beside and prepared the food. Eleanor asked Reggie why she hadn't eaten with them. Reggie said the servants wanted to eat in the kitchen. It was their habit. Every time they talked, they seemed not to be in the same class, but they could easily understand what the other meant. Reggie's performance was very successful. Together they went to a restaurant to have ice cream. Eleanor asked Reggie if he wanted to take a rest, but he wanted to give up cello. He looked like an old man when he asked about Eleanor's family. She avoided the questions and only said she had an elder brother and a sister. She didn't want to talk about her parents at all. She just said, "The ice cream is melting," to end the topic. After the exams, Reggie was on summer vacation. His mother had to fly to China to support her husband's business. She forced Reggie to go to summer camp where he hated the most. He used his own method to deal with this. He gave each of the campers a check, and they had to write his name on the list, and then took Eleanor away from where he didn't like. They went to a fancy restaurant to have a high-end salad. To welcome Eleanor to this rich and lonely boy, they sat on the sofa watching movies together. They did have fun. Her ex-boyfriend, Dennis's call disturbed them. He came there and asked Eleanor to confront him. Reggie accompanied her and saw her shouting at Dennis. After his leaving, they got back home. Eleanor felt extremely sorry for letting Reggie see that, but he didn't mind and said, "Life is a series of mistakes. The relationship between people is not caring and being cared for. It's about being together, healing each other. Anyway, it's easier for two lonely people than one person." The two sat in a gallery enjoying the painting of a naked girl. Reggie suddenly told about the story of it. Eleanor greatly admired his knowledge, and got more curious about this little genius. It was the first time Reggie had shared about his biological father who had passed away since he was 3. All of Reggie's knowledge was thanked to him. He was very talented and loved music. Of course he had some bad habits like drinking. After a few months together, Reggie started to open his heart with Eleanor, and told her things which he had never done with other people. The servant's cooking was quite bad, but she was very kind, so they didn't make difficulties for her. They smiled and threw leftovers into the sink. Eleanor took Reggie to the subway and brought him to her favorite restaurant. Together they had the fried noodles. It's been a long time since the last time Reggie played cello, so Eleanor had to take him to the park. The weather was very fine. The other kids asked Reggie to play football with them, but he turned them down. Reggie didn't have a friend and got used to the loneliness. Eleanor was his first friend. One day, while they were having meal, Eleanor's phone rang. She was told out her father's serious illness, which made her panic and worry very much. She wanted to go home immediately, but she worried about Reggie. Reggie suggested that he go with her. After a long journey, they finally arrived at Eleanor's house. It was messy and shabby. Her family was very complicated. After her father joining the army, her mother lived with her uncle. Eleanor didn't want to stay there, so they rented a room. Before going to bed, Eleanor told Reggie her own story. She used to play saxophone. She knew quite much about music. In fact, she was able to go to an academy, but because of the high tuition, she had to give up her dream, and then left her hometown to find a job in Brooklyn. In her spare time, she went to the subway to perform, where she got to know that loser, Dennis. She used to dream a lot, but difficult life took away all her courage. Because of lack of money, Eleanor had to sell her trumpet, which was her father's gift. When Eleanor was likely to cry, Raggy turned off the light and said good night to avoid seeing that. The next day, they went to the hospital. Looking at her severely ill father, Eleanor felt heartbroken and burst into tears. She returned home and blamed her mother and uncle for causing this to her father, and took Reggie away. On the bus back, the two talked about their future plan. Eleanor intended to leave and start over to find her true self. Reggie encouraged her to get back with trumpet and follow her dream. Eleanor also advised him to practice cello. They made an appointment at the park where they had once hung out. Before leaving, they were very sad. They talked very much about everything in this world. When the new caretaker came, Eleanor had to leave. Reggie prepared her a package of snack that she liked. She told him to be optimistic and live a happy life as a child. She went back home, back to her beginning and her dreams. Reggie couldn't keep calm and cried. He said, "It's hard to believe it's only been a couple of months. I feel like I've known you for my whole life." The two hugged each other tight as their last goodbye. It's always sad to stay apart, but we have to face it. Reggie stood by the window and watched Eleanor leave. Eleanor sat on the bus and ate her snack. She now returned to her old life. Reggie carried the cello on his back again. When she went back, Eleanor found a new job. One day, when she got home, she found a box in front of her house. Unexpectedly, it was a saxophone inside. Reggie also went to the empty pool and started to play cello. From far away, Eleanor picked up her saxophone and started playing. The two seemed to be playing together. Like Sunday, Like Rain is a good movie with a beautiful title. It describes a unique kind of love. Being able to meet each other in the ocean of people is a happiness. They had many beautiful memories together. Being apart is their fate. How can the sky always be blue? Joy accompanies with pain. We meet and also have to say goodbye. Thanks God for bringing us warm sunny days and cold rainy days as well. After those sunny and rainy days, we will gradually become more independent. It's the end of the movie. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in other videos.